Amid rising global tensions over the war in Ukraine, 4 Russian ships, including a nuclear-powered submarine, will arrive in Cuba next week. Cuba's foreign ministry said that none of them will carry any nuclear weapons and added that their presence does not represent threat to the region. Now, during the Cold War, Cuba was an ally for the Soviet Union, and the deployment of Soviet nuclear missile sites on the island triggered the Cuban Missile Crisis of 1962. That's when Washington and Moscow were close to war. The incident leading to the current embargo on Cuba, which remains in force. Ed Augustin reports from Havana.
I think the backdrop of this is Cuba's huge economic crisis and its increasing inability to keep the lights on. I'm speaking to you from Havana, where we're privileged. We've only had 4 hours of power cuts today. In lots of the provinces that make up most of the country, people are sometimes going without 20 hours per day. And so what we're seeing is Cuba trying to court Russia because they need the oil, they need the petrol. And within that context, there's actually been quite a bit of fanfare around this within Cuba. So I got a press release this morning from the Cuban the Cuban Revolutionary Armed Forces, and they announced that they're going to be, the day that the 3 warships and the 1 submarine come into Havana Bay, there's going to be a 21-gun salute. So it's all quite showy. They're going to be putting on a bit of razzle-dazzle. And I think what Cuban politicians are trying to communicate to their populace is that Cuba's not completely alone at this time, that the regime has international allies. And I think what they're trying to telegraph and communicate to the United States implicitly is that if they get hit even harder with the sanctions have been ratcheted up to unprecedented heights since the Trump administration. The Biden administration has kept most of them in place, that they'll get closer to Russia. And that is not something that US policymakers, particularly in the Democratic Party, but many within the Republican Party, want. And so Cuba wants to ratchet up and telegraph its nuisance value that it's historically been very good at doing.